Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our continuing series, ranking the number one hits from 1965 to 1975, here with Randy Nelson. Great to have him back. We've been doing this about the past month and a half or so. We're almost done. We're up to 1973. We're going till 75. So 2 more weeks after today, and then we'll end this particular series. It's been fun so far. 1973 had 27 number one songs on the US Billboard charts. So we're going to rank them worst to best in our two different opinions here, and we'll see where we line up. And at the end, we'll do our 5 honorable mentions of great songs that charted but did not make it to the number one position. So we like to do that just to throw out some other favorites that it should have had a better run maybe than they actually did. And we look back at them pretty fondly compared to some of the stuff that actually went to number one back in 1973, which is mind-boggling at times. So, Randy, what'd you think of this year, 73?
I thought the top 10 were pretty good. I thought there were a lot of average to mediocre number ones in this year. And then I don't think there had any songs that were as bad as maybe the bottom 3 of last year, but there was one that I didn't really care for on this one. But it was an interesting year. And then probably going to be some, I don't know, overlap on what we like and what we don't like. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think so too. There's a couple of, there's a couple artists I like that I don't consider this their best work, and they may be down in the ranking compared to some of their better songs, which I would rank much higher. So we'll figure that out as we go. So we're going to do 27. You're going to do 27 through 21 first, and then myself, and then you'll do 20 to 16, and then 15 to 11. We'll just break it up in those groups. And then when we get to the top 10, we'll go one at a time. So you're doing 27 through 21 to start it off.
All right. The one I have ranked last is Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree by Tony Orlando and Dawn. It's kind of got this ragtime feel to it. And in fact, they did an album called Dawn's Ragtime Follies, so they must really love that period of music. But this is like the song for lounge singers everywhere. You can just picture Bill Murray in that Saturday Night Live skit singing Tie a Yellow Ribbon. And to emphasize that, Jim Nabors and Bobby Goldsboro did covers of that song. If that's anything. So anyway, that's my number 27. I'll try to go a little quicker here since we have so many. My number 26 is The Morning After by Maureen McGovern. The song was used in the Poseidon Adventure, which I thought this song should have gone down with the ship. It's kind of a cheesy ballad. In the movie, Carol Lindley sings it, but it's not actually her. It's she's being dubbed by somebody else. But that's not the version that went to number one. It's Maureen McGovern they gave it to. They wanted to have a single for the movie, and they got Maureen McGovern to sing it. I don't know why they didn't use the person from the movie, but that's how it went. And that's my number 26.
Okay.
My number 25 is Delta Dawn by Helen Reddy. Actually written by Alex Harvey and Larry Collins. Larry Collins was in the Collins Kids, which was a rockabilly group, but actually pretty good. But Tanya Tucker did this song and went up the country charts, and I think she kind of has that Southern charm that sells this song, which I don't think Helen Reddy really had. It does have a nice chorus, but it's not my favorite by Helen.
No.
And my number 24 is Touch Me in the Morning by Diana Ross, which I love Diana Ross's voice, but I don't really care for a lot of her solo stuff, especially when she does the talking parts in songs.
Yeah.
This one. And I don't think the material was up to her voice. It's kind of uninspired. And I guess Touch Me in the Morning is about morning sex. I don't know, but that's what it sounds like. But anyway, that's my 24.
Yeah.
All right. Number 23 is, I don't have anything against them, but I consider them kind of elevator pop. They do have hooks, and that's the Carpenters and Top of the World. they're the kings of kind of this languid and unthreatening pop music. Two clean cut kids, brother and sister. Like I said, they do have the hooks, but that's just not my thing as the Carpenters. And that's 23. 22 is a guy I really love his voice, and that's The Most Beautiful Girl in the World by Charlie Rich.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like his more country and rockabilly sides, and also his kind of blue-eyed soul stuff that he does too. But
yeah,
this was like one of those countrypolitan songs that were crossing over from the country charts over to the pop charts, where they have these kind of countryish songs with a lot of strings. And I mean, this guy, he could sing anything. He even did, I think his last album was a jazz vocal album, which was really good. But just my 22. It's not my favorite thing by Charlie Rich. And now to 21. Now 21 is an interesting thing here. And it's The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia by Vicki Lawrence. Because this is one I got to talk about for a second here. It was like, this guy's away. He comes home. He's been gone for a couple weeks, decides to go to the bar and have a drink, and he meets his best friend Andy there. And Andy tells him, I don't know if you're going home, your wife's not there because she's been fooling around with this guy named Amos, and she's been fooling around with me too. Well, it's just like he's pretty upset about this, so he goes home, finds his dad's old gun, and decides he's going to go over to Andy's house. His ex best friend Andy. This sounds like a made-for-TV movie from the 70s or something. Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, so he goes over to Andy's house, and he sees Andy inside on the floor in a pool of blood, and he noticed these tracks up to the house that are smaller. So he shoots his gun to notify the police that just happen to be driving by, I guess. And they come and arrest him for the murder of Andy. And you find out later in the song that it's actually his sister that's singing this. But she's the one that killed Andy, and she's the one that killed his wife, who's been fooling around, and said, "You're never going to find that body." And it's like, this is, they're hanging an innocent man. Well, kind of innocent, and that somebody beat him to the murder that he was going to do is actually what the song is. So there's a lot of holes in the song. It's like, and how come she doesn't go kill Amos? Because Amos was fooling around too. And she said that she couldn't get there in time to save him from being hanged, to tell him, what happened. I was like, how fast are those trials in Georgia? I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's sung by Carol Lawrence, Vicki Lawrence, who of course was on the Carol Burnett show. Maybe that's why I got the Carol. On the Carol Burnett show, she did those skits with Carol where she played that one character that ended up being a show for her and Mama's Family. But anyway, that's my number 21. A story song is supposed to be kind of like Ode to Billy Joe, but a few holes in, I think, the story.
Yeah, you did a good job talking about it. It's actually my number 27, believe it or not. I detest the song. Vicki Lawrence, of course, you mentioned Carol Burnett. It's kind of that countryish pop, gothic murder ballad, written by Bobby Russell, who was married to Vicki Lawrence at the time. I consider a complete 70s schlock, so it's going to be my number 27. Now, my number 26 is the only one of this batch that we disagree on, that I haven't heard yet, and that's Half Breed by Cher. She's rejected by society. She's got a white father and a Cherokee mother, and they call her Indian Squaw. It's kind of a folky kind of throwaway song, forgotten. I didn't even remember the song until we were doing the list, and then I said, oh my God, I got to do this. Backed by the Wrecking Crew. I just never liked the song then. I'd forgotten about it. And I think they were capitalizing on Sonny and Cher at that time. They had the Comedy Hour from 1971 to 73. So anything she put out, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, was a hit. And this is one of them for me, number 26. Number 25, you had Delta Dawn by Helen Reddy. I agree, Tanya Tucker is probably better for doing this kind of hit. She's more authentic. and it did ride the country charts into the top 10. But this actually made it to number one. I think Helen was again riding the success of I Am Woman. So the next thing she put out, or the next couple things, were going to be hits for her. It's about a woman jilted by her lover. She's all dressed up and no place to go. Faded Rose from Days Gone By. She's waiting to be taken to that mansion in the sky. It's kind of a weird song. Never liked it. Number 25. Number 24 is that pop fluff that you mentioned from the Carpenters, Top of the World. And I have nothing against them too. In fact, I like most of their songs from that era much better than this one. This was an album cut originally from 1970. Then Lynn Anderson covered it on the country charts. Carpenters re-recorded it, released it as a single. And by then they had 4 or 5 monster hits, and this one followed in suit. I like most of the Carpenter stuff, like I said, but this is one that's a little bit lesser on my my rankings for that particular group. And they were clean cut kids, like you mentioned, like the Kids Next Door, brother and sister. Number 23, I have Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree. It wasn't my worst song, but it's obviously not much higher up. Just pure garbage here, pure pop nonsense. And I get the sentiment where people were tying yellow ribbons around the tree for people missing, and it came into play with the Vietnam War as well. People that were, maybe had a son over there fighting, or a brother, they would tie that around till he came home. It goes back into the movies, actually. She wore a yellow ribbon in the John Wayne movie from the late 40s, and with the cavalry. And it also, I think the astronauts, when they were in space, people tied yellow ribbons around their tree too, waiting for them to come home. So it's a symbolic kind of thing. Tony, Orlando, and Dawn, this was a really big hit, obviously number one for 4 weeks, and they catapulted them into the mainstream. They had a television series from 74 to 76. In fact, they replaced Sonny and Cher in the summer of that particular year, and then they had a 2.5 to 3 year run. At that time, variety shows were huge. We mentioned Carol Burnett already, and Sonny and Cher, and Tony, Orlando, and Dawn. All these people were on TV all the time. So that's my number 23. My number 22 is Touch Me in the Morning, Diana Ross. So we have these slotted on or close to where they should be. And I agree with you about Diana Ross. I like her career much better with the Supremes as the lead singer than her solo stuff. She does do that talking, where she's almost breathy and trying to give you the explanation of what's going on in the song. And whether I like it or not, she did have a tremendous solo career. Number ones to come after this were Mahogany, Love Hangover, Upside Down, Endless Love. All these songs made it to number one in the 70s and into the early 80s. And of course, she was coming off of her Oscar nomination for portraying Billie Holiday in Lady Sings the Blues in 1972. So this was the following year. Not especially a great song, but it did go to number one, and it was there for just 1 week. And finally, my number 21 is one you had as well. Charlie Rich, the Silver Fox, as he was called, the most beautiful girl. And I do like the song a little bit. I like his voice. He had another hit the same year called Behind Closed Doors, which made it to number 15, which may even be a better song than this, but they're similar. I like his voice. He's from Arkansas, prematurely gray. That's why they call him the Silver Fox. He was, I think, 41 years old when this came out. And he was a contemporary of Elvis back in the 50s. He goes back that far. And he had a hit called Lonely Weekends back in 1960. So that takes care of my 27 through 21.
All right, good one. All right, my number 20 is the one you had already there, and that's Half Breed by Cher. Her last song to hit number one, she was a Romani, kind of a gypsy. This one, she's half Cherokee. It's like her second hit in a row about discrimination and prejudice. But the way she sings it doesn't really bring out that, because if you saw her on the Sonny and Cher show when she sang the song, she's in this sexy Indian costume. And same thing on the 45 sleeve. So it's got some nice tribal drums and sharp strings. She doesn't really sell it in that she's talking about prejudice. It's just
No.
more of here. I've got a great voice, and here's my song. But anyway, that's my 20. My 19 is "My Love" by Paul McCartney. It's kind of a song that shows that ebony and ivory is on the horizon, at least to me. That's why I think it's songs like this that made me really check out John Lennon's solo material over Paul McCartney. But I have started buying some of Paul McCartney stuff now.
Yeah.
And he had some other stuff that were on his albums that I think are a lot better than some of his singles.
Yeah.
But this is kind of sweet, but it's kind of mundane. It's got this 50-piece orchestra playing, and I think he had better tunes in him than this one. It's just not one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
My number 18 is another Beatle. I got "Photograph" by Ringo Starr, written with George Harrison. Kind of a breakup song where he's staring at the photos, and it's all he has left of the girl or whatever. And it's kind of a simple song. Harrison played guitar and sang backup. It's got this nice solo, a sax solo by Bobby Keys, but that's my 18. My number 17 is "Bad Bad Leroy Brown" by Jim Croce. Another story song. I seem to kind of like his more serious and ballad songs than but I do like some of these. I mean, my favorite would be "Working at the Car Wash Blues," but it was not a big hit like these. But I really do like "You Don't Mess Around with Jim," which I think is a better song, and it was a hit number 8. And then this one's just kind of a rehash of that song. This is a tough guy from Chicago who gets his comeuppance. It's got a nice piano and slide guitar, but and actually 2 wrestlers came out of this song. There was a guy named Bad Leroy Brown, wrestler, and there was a guy named Junkyard Dog that got his name from this song. But anyway, that's my number 17. My number 16 is "Keep on Truckin'" by Eddie Kendricks. I really liked his voice, but for some reason this song I didn't quite like as much. Maybe that's because it's the first disco song, they say. He kind of took a backseat to David Ruffin, but he had a better solo career than David Ruffin, both from the Temptations. It's kind of funky. It's a danceable tune, got these fat back drums and these funky organ and these jittery horns and strings, but it's not my favorite by Eddie Kendricks. It's my 16.
Okay, my number 20 is one you had ways back, "The Morning After," Maureen McGovern from the Poseidon Adventure, that disaster flick starring Gene Hackman, Shelley Winters, Ernie Borgnine. It actually won the Oscar for Best Original Song. McGovern was a Broadway actress, and I guess they brought her in for this particular tune. She was born in Youngstown, Ohio. I'm not aware of any other songs that she ever had that did anything, so that was kind of a one-hit wonder.
I think she had another one, "Torn Between Two Lovers" or something.
That was Mary McGregor, I think.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, but
You're
they're
right.
close.
You're right.
Number 19 is "Keep on Truckin'," like you said, Eddie Kendricks. Temptations cast off or left the Temptations for a solo career. This is not one of my favorite songs of his. It's funky, it's soulful. He's got the high voice, of course. And I didn't realize that it was the early disco, but now that I think about it, it fits. You got the great James Jamerson on bass, the Funk Brothers. It's okay, but it's just not anything that I will go back to. Number 18 is Billy Preston's "Will It Go Round in Circles." I don't dislike it, but there's really nothing special about it other than musically. The lyrics are almost non-existent. "Will it go around in circles?" He's got the huge afro at the time, which was his signature look. He's a cool dude. I didn't realize when I was doing this that the B-side on "Will It Go Around in Circles" was Blackbird from his days with the Beatles. So he actually did a cover of Blackbird and put it on the B-side of this particular single. It's a cool 70s vibe, but like I said, I actually like the song he did the next year better. "Nothing from Nothing Leaves Nothing," but they're similar. Number 17, Paul McCartney and Wings, My Love, off the Red Rose Speedway Highway. Yeah, this is just soft rock, a love song from Paul to Linda, piano driven with the heavy strings in the background. Not one of his better songs, but Paul can crank these love songs out in his sleep. That's what he does. This is kind of generic in that way, but the people ate it up back in those days. It was Paul McCartney, 4 weeks at number one, recorded at Abbey Road Studios. And my number 16 is his Beatles partner, George Harrison, Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth. I like the song. I like a lot of George's songs. It's spiritual in nature, with the world peace theme going on here with God's help. It's a cool slide guitar. It's kind of a mellow song, laid back, and it's got the simple lyrics. Give me hope, help me cope, peace on earth. It's pleasant to listen to, but it's not going to go to the top of my list by any means. So that's my number 16.
Well, I got that a little bit higher.
Yeah.
But my number 15 is Will It Go Round in Circles, like you said, Billy Preston. I remember seeing him sing this on the Midnight Special.
Yes.
Like he was having so much fun. Got this nice piano and organ. Does have some kind of goofy lyrics like, I got a song, ain't got no melody. I got a story, ain't got no moral. Let the bad guy win once in a while, or something like that. But
Yeah.
it's a fun song, but like I said, nothing special. So anyway, that's my 15. My 14, this is when I think the songs start getting pretty good here, and that's Frankenstein by the Edgar Winter Group. Other instrumental. I think we went a year without an instrumental, and now there's one back here. Edgar had been doing this song for a while. I think he sang it at Woodstock, or did it at Woodstock, if I'm not mistaken. And they had played around with it with his brother Johnny. And when he went solo, he put it was like the last song on the album. And it's just Rick Derringer produced. It's just a kind of a wow song. With all this different instrumentation. I guess they got the name of the song because it was like an 11-minute thing, and they were cutting and piecing it down. And the drummer Chuck, what's his name? Riff. Yeah. Said, I don't know, it's wow, like Frankenstein, because they're cutting that up and making it into a single. But it's a cool song. I like it. And my number, where am I now? 13. Yep. 13 is Love Train by the OJs, Gamble and Huff project. They started Philadelphia International Records, which you probably know from being in Philadelphia. Did a lot of great stuff with that, a lot of soul, nice funky soulful stuff. And this was a perfect fit, the OJs. I never did know that the OJs got their name from a Cleveland DJ. His name was Eddie OJ, and that's where they got their name from. Oh wow, I didn't know that either. It's they had a number 3 hit before this called Backstabbers, which was like I said, number 3, and I think that's a better song. I mean, this is an optimistic, give peace a chance kind of thing. Tell the folks in Russia and China too, Egypt and Israel. I don't think they got the word. I don't think the train actually stopped there. It's a good song, Love Train. And my number 12 is Brother Louie by The Stories. I actually have the album this song's on. Originally done by Hot Chocolate, which had the hit Your Sexy Thing. Yep. I listened to the Hot Chocolate song, which it's a decent, but I like the Stories version better. I guess it's probably which one you're familiar with, maybe. But this is the one I'm familiar with. Ian Lloyd, who was with the Left Bank, had that kind of bit of Rod Stewart in his voice, and I always kind of liked that. And I like this song's about an interracial affair, and the white guy takes the black girl home to his parents, and it doesn't go well, and it's just kind of a song about discrimination and having an interracial relationship. But it's a good song, and I really love the wah wah kind of stuff that's on this one. And okay, my number 11 is the George Harrison song, Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth. It's kind of nice sentiment. knocked his bandmate called Paul McCartney out of the #1 spot with the song.
Nice.
And I think it's a better song, but there's kind of a looseness to the song. I love Harrison, he said slide guitar. I also got Nicky Hopkins on piano, who I think appears on a couple more of these songs.
Yeah.
He was a great session player. It's got a fine, easygoing groove, and that's my number 11, the George Harrison tune.
Very good. My number 15, Bad Bad Leroy Brown, Jim Croce. Like you said, I prefer Jim Croce's slower ballad type tunes like Time in a Bottle, I Got a Name, those type of things. And I you don't mess around with Jim. It is similar to this and better for me. This was his only #1 hit prior to his death. He died September 20th of 73. So very unfortunate. I think he was 30 years old. And like you mentioned in the lyrics, a guy with a reputation as a ladies' man and a brawler. Leroy looked like a jigsaw puzzle with a couple pieces gone when he gets in there and gets in that fight. Meaner than a junkyard dog. I love that line. And like all these songs he was playing with his accompanying guitarist, Maury Muleson, who died in that plane crash with him. My number 14 is one that hasn't been mentioned yet, Crocodile Rock by Elton John. I love Elton John, but this is one of those songs that doesn't resonate with me as much. I liked it a lot better when I was a kid. It's kind of a throwback song to the early days of rock and roll, nostalgia, More Innocent Time, Holding Hands and Skimming Stones. While the other kids were rocking around the clock, we were hopping and bopping to the clock. Crocodile Rock. I like the little rocking around the clock reference to the early rock and roll days. Elton also provided his own backing vocals with falsetto with that, that kind of sing-along stuff there with the chorus off the Don't Shoot Me, I'm the Only the Piano Player album. Just a fun song. I like the song. It's just not vintage Elton for me. So that's why I put it at 14. My number 13 is Photograph by Ringo Starr. Maybe one of my top 2 or 3 Ringo songs. I like it. It's a solid pop song. Kind of about lost love. All I got is this photograph, and I feel like you're not coming back anymore. Kind of reality is setting in when he's looking, sees the photograph of somebody that he cared about at one time or wish he had back. And all the great session players on here. George Harrison, of course, is on this song, playing 12-string acoustic. Jim Keltner on drums. Nicky Hopkins again on piano. He's on like 4 or 5 of these songs, it seems like. Number 12 is Frankenstein, Edgar Winter. A great instrumental, kind of progressive in nature, hard rock to an extent. From the album They Only Come Out at Night. Edgar doing his madman thing on piano, synthesizer, even plays saxophone here. Ronnie Montrose on lead guitar, Dan Hartman on bass, and Rick Derringer produced it. And you mentioned how it got its name, being put together with different pieces and sort of making a Frankenstein monster out of it, which is cool. And number 11, a song I really liked and just missed my top 10, Brother Louie by the Stories. That blue-eyed soul. You mentioned the content, the black girl, the white boyfriend, take him home to the racist parents. Just a couple lyrics. And it starts out right out of the bit, right out of the chute. She was black as the night. Louis was whiter than white. Danger, danger when you taste brown sugar. Louis fell in love overnight. Nothing bad, it was good. Louis had the best girl he could. When he took her home to his mama and papa, Louis knew just where he stood. And then it goes into that Louis, 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 that chorus. You're right about the Rod Stewart sound-alike, Ian Lloyd. He also did some background work later for Foreigner, Billy Joel, Peter Frampton, and Yes. So he never quite had the success on his own when the Stories broke up. But great song for the time, I think. Brother Louie at number 11.
All right. Now our top 10.
Yep.
My number 10 is one you just mentioned, Crocodile Rock by Elton John. Like it's got that 50s feel.
Yep.
Kind of a throwback tune. Rock died when Susie left him for some foreign guy. It's got this great pop melody. You mentioned him singing the falsetto there on there. Got the pounding piano and the swirling synthesizer. To me, it's kind of like a an abridged version of American Pie in a way, but
Yeah.
that's my number 10. Not my favorite Elton John song.
Now, my number 10 is one that it probably should be higher, but for some reason, when I ranked it, this is where it came in, and that's Roberta Flack's "Killing Me Softly" with this song. I really like the song. It's beautiful, folky R&B with the voice, Grammy winner, record of the year, best female performance of the year, written by songwriter Lori Lieberman at age 20. She's watching Don McLean perform on stage and scribbling down some notes. It turned into this song, converted into lyrics, and "Killing Me Softly." It's a beautiful song. Later recorded by the Fugees, 1996, with Lauryn Hill. But for some reason, I like these other 9 songs better today than I do that song. So that's number 10.
My number 9 is "You're the Sunshine of My Life" by Stevie Wonder. A wonderful ballad, but it moves kind of at a quick pace, even though it's a ballad. It's kind of different in that the song stream, I can't talk. The song starts out with the backup singers.
Yeah.
Jim Gilstrap, who's singing "You're the Sunshine of My Life," and then you got there's another line in there, and then Lori Groves, another singer, says "You are the apple of my eye," and it goes, and then Stevie comes in with "I Feel Like This Is the Beginning." It's just a wonderful ballad and all around, and I just love his piano in this one, and
Yeah.
he just did some amazing work in the 70s, Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, it's actually also my number 9 as well, for pretty much the same reasons. I must be living in a cave, because I didn't realize until I did the research that those first 2 lines were by other people. I thought it was Stevie changing his voice up. So I was pleased to know that, because all these years I'm thinking that's Stevie Wonder just changing octaves and this and that. And it's Jim Gilstrap and Lanny Groves. Very interesting, but I love the song. It's a fantastic, easy listening. It just exudes love, great song from Stevie. All right.
Right, we're at 8, or where are we?
8.
Okay. 8 is "You're So Vain" by Carly Simon. It's a fun song. It took me a while to know some of the lyrics, because it was like, "You walked into the party like you were walking into a yacht. Your hat strategically dipped below one eye. Your scarf, it was apricot. You had one eye in the mirror as you watched yourself go by." And for a long time, I just said, I thought it was "as you watch yourself go by," because I had no idea what go by was, which I found out later was a dance, and that he was like watching himself in the mirror, dancing, because he's so full of himself. The song spawned a lot of conjecture about who Carly Simon was singing about. One of the top candidates was Warren Beatty, but people also said maybe it was her husband, which was at the time, which was James Taylor. Or could it be Mick Jagger? But the fun thing is Mick Jagger sings on this. You can recognize his voice toward the end. He sang uncredited, but it's got great piano. I just love the thought of "You're so vain, I bet you think this song is about you." It's just brilliant. I don't know, but it's my number 9.
Yeah, that one's pretty high up for me. My number 9, or is this 8? This is 8. I
messed up.
That's right.
8. Yeah, it's 8.
My 8 is "Time in a Bottle" by Jim Croce. Written in 1970 when Croce's wife told him that she was pregnant. It appeared on the album in 72, "You Don't Mess Around with Jim," and then released as a single after Croce's death. Went to number 1 for 2 weeks, the last week of 73 and the first week of 74. It was number 1. Just a great arrangement, soft rock ballad, just a wonderful song. So it makes number 8 for me.
That's my number 7, "Time in a Bottle," Jim Croce. It has one of my all-time favorite lines, and that I think about all the time is, "There's never seems to be enough time to do the things you want to do once you find them," which is so true.
Definitely.
And it went to number 1. It's the third song to go to number 1 after someone's passing, because this one was released after he had died in the plane crash. And like you said, Maury Mulison's, how do you say his name?
Mule, I think it's Mulison, something like that.
It's
Marty.
beautiful
Yeah.
guitar work on this.
Yeah.
Like I said, he passed away in the crash too, but I just love this song and some of the lyrics in it.
Yeah, it's a really, really beautiful song. My number 7 is Midnight Train to Georgia by Gladys Knight and the Pips. Their first number 1, a Grammy winner again, originally called Midnight Train to Houston, which I didn't know. Written by Jim Weatherly, who was a friend of Farrah Fawcett and Lee Majors, and they were having a conversation, and Farrah said, what are you doing this? Or Jim said to Farrah, what are you doing this weekend? Taking a midnight train to Houston. And he thought about that, changed to Georgia, and voila, here we have a song. Great harmonies, background vocals by the Pips. Gladys, really delivers a knockout performance here. Soul, pop, crossover kind of hit. And I like the line, I'd rather live in his world than live without him in mine. And then you hear the guys going, whoo, whoo, all aboard, all that stuff. Great song from Gladys Knight and the Pips, number 7.
All right. My number 6 is We're an American Band by Grand Funk Railroad. Kind of an old time, just hard rocking song. Supposedly, well, this is the first story I heard, but they were in a bar with the band, the Humble Pie, and they were arguing over British versus American rock. And supposedly the drummer said, Don Brewer mentioned Jerry Lee Lewis and Little Richard, Fats Domino, Elvis Presley, and declared, we're an American band. But that was a great story, but supposedly Don Brewer said later that that's not what happened. And there's no great story like that. But kind of like the movie Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, when the legend becomes fact, print the legend. So that's kind of that's how they've gone on this. It was produced by Todd Rundgren. Yep. And keyboardist Craig Frost plays this great treble riff on here. And it's kind of about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It starts with the cowbell. You got the great guitars in there, and it's just one big party song, and simple but an effective rocker.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites as well. My number 6 is one you had a little bit back, Love Train by the OJs, Gamble and Huff, Philly International. Ironically, it entered the top 40 the same day as the Paris Peace Accords were signed. Love Train advocates unity and among us all, mentions the countries like you talked about, England and Russia, China, Egypt, Israel, Africa. A Call for Peace, joyous, got that great chorus. Remember seeing it on Soul Train several times. Really cool song. The audience, really into it at the time. Eddie Levert was the lead singer of the OJs. People all over the world join in, start a love train, join hands. Just a good 70s soul song for me.
Right.
Top 5.
All right. My number 5 is Killing Me Softly with his song by Roberta Flack. And like I'd heard that Lori Lieberman story, actually the songwriting credits are for Norman Gimbel and Charles Fox. Charles Fox actually wrote the Happy Days theme.
Oh,
and,
good.
There's the Lori Lieberman, supposedly she was watching Don McLean and the song Empty Chairs, and she was killing her softly with this song. Their version is that they wrote the song, and then she said, oh, that reminds me of when I saw Don McLean. And so there was always some argument. She never did get royalties, and I think I don't know if she sued or whatever, but anyway, it never came out quite right with them. She was the first one to sing the song, and I listened to her version. It's just, Roberta Flack had such this easygoing but such expressive voice, and she's the one that really sells this song, and I just love her version of this. That's my number 5.
Beautiful song. My number 5 is We're an American Band, Grand Funk Railroad. Just a classic kick-ass rock song. The drummer, Don Brewer, on lead vocal as well, which is cool. Lots of cowbell, the great drum intro where he's just banging away, and then he's got a pretty good voice. It is sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And basically he's talking about these four young Chiquitas in Omaha waiting for the band to return from the show. And now these fine ladies, they had a plan. They were out to meet the boys in the band. They said, come on, dudes, let's get it on. And we proceeded to tear that hotel down. So it's just one of them wild, crazy scenes that you've read about in the 70s where the chicks are all over the place and the guys can do their thing. And it reminds me a little bit of Almost Famous, where they're in the hotels and the people are just running wild in the hallways and that type of thing, and hooking up. And at the heart of it is this great rock band. So number 5 for me.
All right. My number 4 is Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye, written by Marvin Gaye and Ed Townsend. It's such a smooth and beguiling song that is really about getting a woman into the sack in a way. But I love the interplay of the flute, the strings, the sax, and the percussion that just pushes the sensuality of the song almost as much as Marvin Gaye's vocal. And he's got a really evocative vocal on here too. There's nothing wrong with me loving you, he sings, but he uses his voice in some unique ways, like how he stretches words out, like try baby. And
yeah,
you don't have to worry if it's wrong. And he kind of puts that out, but just perfect soul music by Marvin Gaye at this time.
Yep. My number 4 also. It just oozes sexuality, this song. It's soulful. Like you said, Marvin with the enunciation and the voice. He had the it factor. He can make anything sound good. One of the all-time great voices for me. It'll make you horny if you're, put you in that right mood. Classic R&B soul from the 70s. Nothing to say about it. It's just a classic for Marvin Gaye. Number 4.
Right. Well, my number 3 you mentioned already. And actually when I see these lists, I make what I think is going to be the order. And actually I had this number 1 when I made the list, and then it went back to number 3, and that's Midnight Train to Georgia, Gladys Knight and the Pips. Like you said, it was written by Jim Weatherly. I actually have a Jim Weatherly album.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know how many he made, and I don't know. I couldn't tell you any songs on it. I haven't played it in so long. But it's kind of song written about a guy that didn't make it big in LA, but he's going back to a simpler life in Georgia. And this lady who's the singer in the song is going to go back with him. Just a wonderful vocal performance by Gladys. And I love how the Pips just come in to move the song along. Like they'll either repeat a line that she just said, or they'll move it to another thing. And then and I just like the pauses that she uses. Like she'll go, LA. She starts out LA and then pauses and then grew too much. Pips come in too much too. But just one of their perfect songs, I think.
It is a great one. I love the background vocals by the Pips. We both mentioned that, and it's important to that song. When I play that song, I'll listen to Gladys and I'll do the Pip part, because it's like, you feel like you're part of the ensemble there. It's just wonderful. My number 3 is You're So Vain by Carly Simon. Just our signature song. I like the opening bass line here by Klaus Florman too. And then you mentioned that line. I had the same line written down about walking into the party like you're walking onto a yacht, and the apricot scarf, and the gavotte line, which I didn't know the word. I had to look it up years ago. And the whole thing, You're So Vain, you probably think the song is about you. Everything you covered. There's been speculation about who the subject was. You mentioned several of the characters here: James Taylor, Mick Jagger, even David Bowie, Cat Stevens, David Cassidy of all people. For decades, she would never divulge who it was about, and then finally, it did come out that it was Warren Beatty for sure. He epitomizes that vanity and conceit and full of himself, narcissistic, all that stuff. I mean, you watch some of his movies, and even though you like his performance and he's a likable guy, like in Shampoo, let's say, or Heaven Can Wait, he's a pretty boy. And, you can see him acting like that when he walks into a party. He's just looking around like, "Ooh, I'm the man. Look at me." Girls can't take their eyes off me. He knows it. And Carly noticed it and wrote a song about it. And it's a classic. So that's my number.
I didn't know it had been finally,
It was divulged, yeah.
Anyway. All right, looks like we have the top two. Let's see what order we have them in.
That'd be hard to do. What are the odds that we would have the top two out of these 27? Let's see what we got.
My number two is Angie by the Rolling Stones. Wonderful ballad sang by Mick. I love when the Rolling Stones do ballads. And I just love how Nick sings. There's a lot of ache in his voice, and he sings about a love that has no chance. I guess it was mostly written by Keith Richards, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And there's been speculation on who Angie is. Is it Angela Bowie? Is it Anita Pallenberg? Is that her name? That was Richard's girlfriend, I guess, at the time, or was it wife? Or
I think they were together. I'm not sure they were married, but they were a significant other. Yeah.
Or then his daughter, which was can't remember what her name was.
Dandelion Angela.
Yeah. But anyway, just a wonderful, beautiful song. Got Nicky Hopkins on piano that you keep bringing up. He's great on this one. And the string arrangement's great. But Keith, I guess, just said that was a name picked out of the air. So it's
right.
It's name. But it's just a great ballad by the Stones. Off Goat's Head Soup.
I agree. My number two also, and I had a hard time keeping it out of the number one spot, but I have it at number two. Goat's Head Soup, everything you mentioned, all the speculation about who it was pointed at, and it turns out it was just a name that he came up with. Nicky Hopkins. What else do I have down here? I like the lyric, and you mentioned Mick singing with such pain or suffering in his voice. You can hear the angst. I like the lyric here. All the dreams we held so close seem to all go up in smoke. Let me whisper in your ear. And he goes, Angie, sort of whispers it. Angie, where will it lead us from here? Just a great arrangement. And the Stones are known for their, hardcore rock and roll and blues at points. But this is a great, slow love song, ballad, whatever you want to call it. Fantastic. And it looks like we're hitting a home run on number one here.
Yeah. Superstition, Stevie Wonder, just a wonderful song. I guess originally written for Jeff Beck, but the project was kind of abandoned, although he did record it later. I have not heard Jeff Beck's version of this song. Have you? No, but anyway, just Wonder has that clavinet riff and these brass horns and the kicking drum parts. It starts out with the drums. And I love that superstition ain't the way. The whole idea of the song, look for the facts, and has one of my all-time favorite lines, which, well, I guess it's the second time I've said that, but when you believe in things you don't understand, then you suffer, which could really be relevant for today for sure.
Yeah.
And one interesting fact I saw is that, and I thought was kind of funny, is that he won the Grammy of the Year for 74 for Album of the Year in 74, 75, and 77. And in 1976, Paul Simon won, and he thanked Stevie Wonder for not releasing an album that year in his speech.
That's funny.
But it's a great song.
Yeah, it's great. My number one also, it was a tough battle, but it eventually won out. I had to pull back and say, well, which song, without me, objective or subjectively picking it, which is the better song when it comes down to, and it's Superstition. It fits the 70s, classic, great groove, heavy funk, cool lyrics. I liked how he weaves these little superstitious acts into the lyrics, like 13-month-old baby, broke the looking glass, 7 years of bad luck, all those things that we grow up learning, that you don't break a mirror or you're going to get bad luck, and the number 13's bad luck, and all that kind of stuff that he writes in the lyrics. And it works. 2 Grammys out of this, and Talking Book was the album. For Stevie's first number one in 10 years since Fingertips in 1963, which is hard to believe because he had so many songs in that span, but this is the one that cracked it and sent him to the top. So we had 1, 2 the same there, right back to back, and we had Let's Get It On at number 4, which is right on the money too. So very good. I didn't think we would do it because it was such a hard list to do. There was so much variety and quality at the same time, and some dogs, that we sorted out early on. All right, so now we're going to do our honorable mentions where we each pick out 5 tunes that never made it to number 1 that we personally like or want to give a shout out to. So what do you have for that, Randy?
Well, people maybe think I rag on Paul McCartney for some of the banal songs he does, but one of them I do love was, and my favorite James Bond theme was "Live and Let Die," Paul McCartney and Wings, which only made it to number 9. I just love that song. Also, this was also in a movie, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, "Knocking on Heaven's Door" by Bob Dylan, only made it to number 12. Led Zeppelin weren't really known for their singles, but Dire Maker only made it to number 20, which I love that song. And is that how you pronounce it? I've never known for all these years.
Yeah, I've heard it both ways. Some people say it's called Jamaica because it's after Jamaica, but I heard Dire Maker. All the DJs say Dire Maker.
Anyway. And then I have my 4th one is Lagrange by ZZ Top. Only made it to number 41.
Yeah.
And then I'm really reaching on this one. Love Reign O'er Me or Quadrophenia only made it to number 76.
I had to have that Who in there. That's a good call. I like the Lagrange pick too by ZZ Top. I didn't even come across that when I was looking, but those are all good songs. My number 2, or my first one is number 2, Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, which was one of my favorite Elton John songs, the title track from that album. I can't believe it didn't make number 1 when Crocodile Rock did, but it's another story. I also have the 4 Tops, Ain't No Woman Like the One I Got, number 4, the great Levi Stubbs on lead vocal. Steelers Wheel, Stuck in the Middle with You, made it to number 6. I like the song, of course, classic scene in Reservoir Dogs, favorite movie of mine. So I had to give that a little shout out. I have the same as you with Bob Dylan's Knocking on Heaven's Door, number 12. Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, which I recently saw within the last year and a half. It's a pretty good movie. I missed it all these years. Dylan's actually an actor in the movie, kind of a silent performance, but he does do the songs or the soundtrack on it. It's pretty good. And my last one here is made it to number 16. Lou Reed, Walk on the Wild Side.
Oh yeah,
fantastic song and perfect for that era, the glam rock and all the transgender, the Andy Warhol gang, all that stuff that was prominent at that time. And Lou was part of that scene or writing about it anyway. So that had to make my list. And there's others here that I wanted to get a Steely Dan song and they had Do It Again and Stuck in the Middle with You, both in that year, but neither one of them made it to number 1 or off the first album. So some good music that year. It's just a lot of the number 1s weren't necessarily the best of the bunch,
Yeah.
It's the way it goes.
I'm glad you mentioned that movie too, because I'm a big Sam Peckinpah fan.
Yeah. So you obviously have seen it, but have you seen it years ago or recently? Or
yeah, it's been years ago. I need to see it again.
I caught up with it on Turner Classic Movies one night. I think they were doing a Peckinpah tribute, and that's one I hadn't seen, and I made a note to record it so I could check it out, and I'm glad I did.
Have you ever heard Chris Christopherson's Sam song about Sam Peckinpah?
I have not.
Oh, you have to check that one out. It's good.
Chris Christopherson, Sam song. I'll write it down. I guess it's on YouTube. I could find it.
I would imagine.
Yeah. I know they were really good friends. Chris Christopherson and Sam Peckinpah. All right, cool. Very good, very enjoyable. We have 2 more years, like we mentioned early on. We're going to do 1974 next week, and then the following week, 1975, which will end this project. We really don't want to go any further because albums were taking over. The singles are relatively insignificant. You get a lot of disco and different stuff that we're really not into ranking for some reason, but we'll find something else to do. And remember, stay tuned for people that watch our videos. In 2 weeks, on the 20th, we're going to record with Glenn Kellaway a top 25 Bruce Springsteen songs. So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be a nice project to break up some of the stuff we've been doing, just more stuff that I'm really into. So, and Randy's a big fan of Bruce as well. So check out Randall Nelson, his channel. Great variety. I say this every week. He's got so many different styles and genres of albums, and he knows a lot about them too. He can recite the ins and outs of stuff. He knows a lot of the stuff that I'm still learning. So always great to get together. We'll check us out next week. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave some comments, give us your list. We like to see other people's lists. It's always cool to see where certain people stack up some of these songs. We have regulars that always contribute their list, and we appreciate them and thank them. But anybody out there that hasn't done that yet, check it out. Leave us a list. I mean, you'll find that it's not that easy to do when you start stacking these songs up. You go, which one's best, which one's, worst, and what's in the middle. So for Randy, this is Rich. We'll see you next time. Appreciate you watching.